Sapphire. Don't click ahead yet because I have a few announcements to share with you before we get into this week's story. I am heading to VidCon this year. I will have a booth on the show floor where we'll be giving away pins, shirts, and posters. And I'll also have an official meet and greet, so make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram to be notified of when I'm at the booth and to stay updated on when my meet and greet will be. Can't wait to see you all there. And don't forget to make sure you're subscribed to Snarled and the bell is turned on for notifications. And now, back to the show. Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? House of Dune. The following is a story that Brooke's grandfather told her to warn her to never go near the House of Dune. When I was around 17 years old, I had a friend named Fraser. He was a bit of a daredevil, always taking risks and doing stupid stunts. He had no regard for his own safety. One night, me, Fraser, and our friend Ashley were hanging out, and Fraser mentioned the House of Dune, a house that was about a half-mile from the outskirts of the village. Generally, our town wasn't that superstitious, but there was something about that place that scared all the locals. So, obviously, we all fell silent and then tried to steer clear of the subject, but this really annoyed Fraser. I wish people would stop acting like the house is so dangerous, he said. The thing was, none of us had actually ever gone near the house. Everything we knew about it was from the stories our parents told us. We didn't know why we had to avoid it, we just knew that we should. And Fraser wasn't the type of guy to follow the rules. Let's put an end to this stupid superstition and spend the night there, together, right now. Me and Ashley shared a worried glance, but Fraser was very insistent. So, without any real intention of spending the night, we decided to follow Fraser to the house. We thought we could talk him out of it. So we pull up to the garden of the house, packed with our sleeping bags and flashlights. The garden was completely overgrown. Plants were wrapping around the gate, the tarmac, and the house. The windows were shattered. The house was giving off an energy that, to this day, I still can't describe accurately. Sitting in that car, looking up at the bleak, desolate building, it was enough to make me come to my senses. We decided that this was a really bad idea and we should head home. All of us except Fraser. You're really going to let fear control your lives? He taunted us. Everyone is afraid of this house and doesn't even know why. Don't you want to prove everyone wrong? After about a half hour of arguing, Fraser realized he wasn't going to convince us and let us spend the night in the car, while he spent the night in the house alone. Before he went inside, he told us that he planned on staying in the attic. Every 15 minutes or so, he would bang on the attic wall facing the front yard to give us a sign that he was still okay. Then, at 8 a.m., he would return to the car. We wished him luck and watched as he confidently strutted into the house. We waited. About 5 minutes went by until we heard a thud coming from the attic. We saw the faint silhouette of an arm waving at us in the window. Relieved to know that he was still okay, me and Ashley got comfy in the car. But there was no way we were going to fall asleep. And just like Fraser promised, every 15 minutes or so, we'd hear the reassuring thud. It was now about 1 a.m. Me and Ashley were finally comfortable enough to slowly fall asleep. I wasn't sure how long I had been knocked out, but I woke up to the same thud sound, only it was a little bit faster. No longer every 15 minutes, but more like every 5 seconds. I wasn't sure why Fraser was pounding more frequently now, but as long as he was okay, it didn't really matter. I fell back asleep. I didn't wake up until the morning sun shone on my face. Ashley had also just woken up. It was past 8 a.m. in the morning, but Fraser hadn't come back to the car yet. Fraser was still pounding on the attic wall. We figured he was just showing off now, trying to prove to us that he could stay even longer in the house. But we really wanted to head back home now, and we weren't just going to wait for Fraser to be ready to come down. Hey, Fraser! I shouted up at the attic. You proved your point. It's time to go home now. Ashley and I had no choice but to go get him ourselves. Although the house was still fairly creepy in the morning, we felt a little braver, knowing that Fraser made it through the night. So we entered the house. There were footprints in the dusty floor that showed us Fraser's path. We followed it up the deteriorating staircase and to the attic, the thuds getting louder and louder as we got closer and closer. We opened the door. There was Fraser, hanging from the ceiling, his body swinging back and forth, and every 5 seconds slamming into the wall. Thank you to all of our patrons, especially Ashley, who had a character named after them in this episode. If you'd like to join our VIP program, visit patreon.com/gnarled. Want more something scary?
And that was so scary. Something scary of one word.
She is not what she seems. Oh, so this is a no sleep scare then. Yes. I remember to sleep. Okay, we're not gonna watch that.
Hey audience, it's your Audie Sapphire. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about one of our sponsors who, without them, the show would not be possible. Did you know that fashion is the second most polluting industry in the world? That's pretty scary, right? That's actually one of the many reasons I love to shop secondhand, and my favorite place to do so is on ThredUp. ThredUp is the largest online consignment and thrift store. The website is super easy to navigate. You can filter the items by size, style, silhouette. I have a lot of weddings to attend this year, and it was so easy to find amazing dresses at such great prices. I got this Aiden Maddox dress that was originally $395 for only $50. And I can't even tell that these dresses are used, and that's because everything on ThredUp is hand inspected and triple checked for quality. They add over 50,000 new items every single day, so you are guaranteed to find something you'll love. Get an extra 30% off your first order when you go to thredup.com/ss or click the link in the description below. And now, back to the show. Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? She is not what she seems. This story comes from the Creepypasta subreddit written by username Cupid Fate. If you haven't seen Something Scary episode about the elevator game, I highly recommend watching it first.
Where's the tiny?
About a year ago, me and my family took a vacation to America. We stayed in this fancy upscale hotel. We checked in and got our key to our room on the 5th floor. Every night, I'd go down to the lobby after dinner and read a book or watch a movie with my headphones and have little chats with the receptionist, Tom. One night, I was in the lobby reading, and my mom texted me asking when I was going to come back to the room. I looked at the time and quickly realized it was already 11 p.m., so I went back to my room and stayed up for a bit. After half an hour or so, I realized that I'd left my purse in the lobby. My dad and I kept trying to call Tom at reception via our hotel phone to see if he'd seen it or if it was still there. No answer. After about 10 minutes of trying, I finally decided to head back down. As I got into the elevator, I saw this shy-looking girl, my age, like 16 years old. She was wearing a really cute sweater with a triangle design on it. "I love your outfit," I said. No reply. "My name's Marissa. What's yours?" She just ignored me and hit the button for the first floor. I thought maybe I somehow offended her, or shit. It hit me. She might have been deaf or mute or had special needs. Then the elevator proceeded to go up to the 10th floor. "That's odd," I said. I looked over at the girl, now looking down at the floor of the lift, quite nervously. I quickly apologized for whatever I'd done. Maybe I was offending her by repeatedly speaking to her, I don't know. But when I'm uncomfortable, I get kinda chatty. We arrived on the 10th floor. As the doors opened, the dark, empty hallway stared back at us. I assumed that she would hit the first floor button again, but she didn't. So I leaned over and pressed it myself. Just as I did that, she was stepping forward. She ran into my arm for a moment and stepped back. After I pulled my arm away, she stepped out of the elevator and into the hallway. Confused, I called out to her, "Where are you going? I thought you were going to the first floor." As soon as I said that, she bolted. I shrugged it off and hit the lobby button. I got to reception and asked Tom if he'd seen my purse. Luckily he had, and he handed it over to me. "You could have just called. I would have been happy to send someone up to bring it to you," Tom said. "I actually did try calling from my room about half an hour ago," I explained. "I couldn't get through. I figured the line was busy or something." No, my line was definitely open. I'll have to look into that," Tom said. Before I turned around to head back to the elevator, I asked Tom if there were any deaf or special needs guests at the hotel. I told him about the girl in the elevator and how I might have scared or offended her. He told me he wasn't sure, and even if he did know, it wasn't information he should be sharing. I understood and headed to my room. The next day, me and my family were going out for the day for some tourist activities. I waved at Tom as we passed reception, and then he waved for me to come over. "That girl you mentioned last night, what did she look like?" he asked. "She was like 16, probably. She was wearing this really cute sweater with triangles." Tom looked incredibly worried. "She never returned to her room last night. Her parents called this morning looking for her." My heart sank. That poor girl. "She was seen pressing random buttons in the elevator on the CCTV, Tom continued. That sounded familiar to me. I remembered seeing a video back in 2013, I think. Tom showed me the security footage, and sure enough, there she was, looking nervous, pressing random buttons, then me entering on the 5th floor, then her leaving on the 10th. That night, I Googled the elevator game, and I skimmed the rules. When you reach the 5th floor, a young woman may enter the elevator. Do not look at her. Do not speak to her. She is not what she seems. So that's why she was ignoring me. I was part of the game. Her game. But I wasn't a monster. I was just a person. Right? Am I not what I seem? Am I dangerous? It's been almost a year since that day, and she still hasn't been found. They say if you play the elevator game successfully, you can travel to an alternate dimension on the 10th floor. But if you don't follow the rules exactly, you might get stuck there forever. And every now and then I wonder if my being there interfered with her ritual somehow. I wonder if I'm the reason she's stuck. If you haven't already, I highly recommend watching the elevator game episode of Something Scary. Thank you to all of our patrons, especially Marissa, who had a character named after them in today's episode.
So guys, the elevator game. When we go to a hotel, it has 12 floors, 4 10. Then we're gonna play the elevator game, and we're gonna die, okay?
That evil.
The elevator game.
Wait, right there. We go, my queen.
A Korean ritual. Oh, so this is great. Okay.
Multiple celebrities haunt this hotel. A ghost of a girl is supposed to enter an elevator with you. What's up, guys?
Nothing
This is
happened.
Sam, and I am back at you with another 3 a.m. challenge. We are here in Hollywood, as you can tell, and I'm at the Roosevelt Hotel, which is considered the most haunted hotel in all of Hollywood. I'll get to that a little later. But last week, you guys got my 3 a.m. challenge, the 11 miles game, to 50,000 likes. So I am going to try to go to the other world. I'm doing the elevator game. I'm playing the rules and everything inside. Yes, I actually did buy a hotel room in here. So at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm doing the stupid ritual, no security or whatever will kick me out. Good for you. $250 down the drain for the stupid video, so boom. Anyway, guys, I want to show you the hotel, so I'll see you inside. Alright, guys, welcome to my hotel room. I actually hadn't researched why this hotel was haunted until just now, but I'm going to go over this. So this hotel is called the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, and this is later on Hollywood Boulevard. You can check it out. And because it's located in Hollywood like that, there's been a ton of celebrities that have stayed there, including Charlie Chaplin, Shirley Temple, and Marilyn Monroe. They were all like long-term guests here, but there's a ton of other celebrities as well. Apparently multiple celebrities haunt this hotel. It's not like random ghosts or people that have died there. It's literally like past celebrities are like in here. So hey, maybe I get to meet a celebrity tonight. It is said that many hotel guests like check out in the middle of the night because of obvious ghost activities in the room, or they'll see these celebrities walking down the hall, obviously dead ghost celebrities. So basically what I'm doing today is I'm going to be playing the elevator game. It is otherwise known as the elevator to another world, because basically you're supposed to be able to do a certain set of floors in an order in a haunted hotel to where it'll take you to another dimension. It kind of seems crazy to me, but it says it's not supposed to be completely different. It's supposed to be the exact same thing you would see, but if there were ghosts, you would be able to see them. So like another dimension where the ghosts are there, more apparent, I guess. Anyway, I have some skepticisms about this one because a lot of it seems kind of odd. Like, how do you press a couple of buttons on floors and then you automatically get to a different world? See, that doesn't make much sense to me. But on the other hand, some of the most haunted things, creepiest things out there on the internet are videos of people going insane in the elevator, like people coming in and out of elevators. There's been murders in elevators. Like, just look it up. There's like a lot of unexplained things that happen in hotel elevators, you know, from like the security cameras. Speaking of, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to finish this video because when I walked in the hotel, there's a ton of security everywhere. Apparently this is, because it is such a haunted hotel, it's more heavily guarded, it's very high class, I guess, I don't know. Let's get down to it. This is how you play the elevator game. So it must be played alone, in one building, at least 10 stories high. We got that. You get into the first floor alone, so I'm going to be starting this down in the lobby. I can't proceed if anyone else is around or if anyone else is in the elevator with me. First of all, I gotta press a series of buttons. So you're supposed to go to the 4th floor, then down to 2, then up to 6, then back down to 2, then you go to the 10th floor, and then when you go to the 5th floor, a girl, or a ghost of a girl, is supposed to enter an elevator with you. You're not supposed to look at her, you do not speak to her, and it says like in bold, the last thing you want to do is look at this girl or speak to her if she comes in. But it says, don't worry, it's not actually what it seems. Now the final step here is after you do all this thing, and if the girl comes into the elevator, you're supposed to press the 1st floor, the lobby floor, and if the elevator begins ascending to the 10th floor, then you have your pass to the other world. A lot of things have to go right for me to make that happen, and if I reach the 10th floor, then I'll go into this other world, and I'll get more into detail on what all that means when it actually happens. But here we go. I get to sit around in an elevator alone, press a bunch of random buttons, and hoping something happens. This is gonna be creepy. Alright, actually before I go, I just want to show you how insanely creepy this hotel room is. So first of all, the lights flicker like this. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like a hazy thing. So it only works when one light is on. But just look, it's so creepy and old. There's like this giant drop in the middle of Hollywood. And then like look, there's this random like one picture like off to the side, off center of this random girl that's super scared looking. I don't know, but maybe they try to make this place look creepy, or maybe it's like honestly just this weird every time. I don't even know if I'm gonna sleep here tonight. Like, I bought this hotel room just so I can say I'm a resident here, but I don't even know if I'm gonna sleep here. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go down to the lobby floor here in a second. I'm on the 2nd floor. But I remembered that I promised you guys I would tell you about my wish that I made and if it came true or not last week. So what happened was I was wishing for something completely away from YouTube that I wouldn't tell anybody about, and that was to get to 500K or $500,000 on Instagram on New Year's. And without reason, I gained like double or triple what I usually gain on Instagram for 3 or 4 days. And then I hit 500K on Instagram literally like at midnight. Not even joking, not even like showing. You can look it up on socialblade.com. You can see exactly when I hit 500K. And so I thought that was super weird. But then the only thing that was super weird about that is right after I hit 500K on New Year's, I got locked out of my account. Like 100% locked out of my account for the next 5 days. I couldn't log on. I like tweeted about this and whatnot like that. So you can check me up. I'm not making this up for a video. Like as soon as I hit 500K, I got my wish. wish, but then I got locked out. Super weird. Anyway, let's get on with this. Just call it. I'm on the lobby. So here we go. First step, come in. There's no one else around. I'm by myself. Just closed. One thing with this bad is I have to use my own first step. Here we go. And then level 4. That's all I'm gonna do. What the crap? This went down. Why did I just do that?
What is it?
Okay, I don't know if you understood that, but I pressed 4. It went down a level to the garage and then back up to the lobby. This is so weird here. Wait, I'm gonna try to go to 4. It's not letting me. Do you guys see this? Okay. Super weird. Okay, gotta go to 4. And then I gotta go to level 2. Okay. That's what it looks like. Yo,
Ooh, randomly stop.
because level 2 is actually called level M. So I gotta go to level 2, now I gotta go to level 6. Anyone enter? Level 2. Is it gonna work? Come on, work. Come on. Yes, okay. Level 6 worked. So far, it should be good. There's cameras in here, so I don't know if someone's getting me out. But okay, so there. The last one. I gotta go back down to level 2. I don't know why level 2 is a big thing.
It's a big thing.
Lobby. 4, 2, 6, 2, 10. And then down to 5, and I'll see the girl. So after this, if I can get all the way to level 10, we should be good. Alright. Okay, that actually worked perfectly. Guys, is this not just the creepiest freaking elevator you've ever seen in your entire freaking life? Okay, here's the moment of truth. I'm gonna go down to 5. And there should be someone.
Oh.
If this works out correctly, then I should see a little girl, so I'm not gonna look.
Oh, you can't look. What are you doing? No one's coming in. What?
Is there any friend?
No one.
No little girl. So.
Someone's been coming.
Hello?
No. I wouldn't say hello.
Hello?
She tried to leave.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. This is supposed to be the floor of this. Different. This is supposed to be the floor.
The one in there.
Hello? Okay, literally no one just came out of the elevator. Call. Okay, so apparently this is supposed to be a different dimension, but I don't know if it worked. Okay. Not only is this the creepiest freaking out I've ever seen in my life, but the only one parameter that the instructions said is that you will only know if you're in the other world. If you're the only person. And I know but the only person. So my question is, did it work or not? I'm getting like really weird vibes. Like my back is like tingling, you know, like when you feel like it's like over here. Make sure I'm 100% alone. Oh yeah, wait. Okay, so I should be able to, if this worked right, if there's any celebrity ghosts on the 10th floor, this is the alternate universe, right? Like, is this supposed to be like where I would see them? I just heard a door open, but I don't see it. Did you hear that? You heard that, right? Okay, wait, that's actually really freaking me out. Literally, I heard a door open. I saw a door open, and I see no people. That's freaking strange. I can't tell if this worked or not. Alright, so I was
Why do I
thinking,
get pink?
and I did it right.
Why do you want
I'm
red?
in the most haunted hotel
Okay,
there
then.
is. Like, I even asked, like, when I was checking on my, or checking in from October, I asked, like, so what is this hotel known for? And they're like, yeah, everyone knows this is, like, the most haunted hotel. So, like, either one, this elevator game is BS, or two, it didn't work for me, or it did. The only thing I don't understand is I did it right, and then it took me up to the 10th floor, and I was alone, and I was hearing doors open without people. So the only thing that was off about this, there was no girl in an elevator. That might mean that I did it right. So the way to get out of this and not be trapped in this other world is apparently you just gotta do the ritual again. But make sure when you're going to the 10th floor, if it happens again, you're supposed to go to a different floor.
Who's trapped?
Like if it tries to go to the 10th, not let it, like you're supposed to like, get off. I don't 100% know if I believe that I did it right, but just to make sure, I'm gonna do the ritual again and make sure that I'm out of this other world. Okay guys, I'm sorry for the really crappy quality, but when I got down here to the lobby to do the second round, some security officers said they're watching me through the cameras and I can't use my nice camera, so I'm going to do the second round very quickly on my iPhone just to show you guys that I finished it off. Let's do this. First level is 4. There's 4. Perfect. One there. 2, because I'm scared. Especially after that guy talks to me into the hotel's haunted room. Yeah, the guy said, okay man, like you can't live here. And I was like, what are you doing here? I was like, filming this video. It's haunted, right? I was like, oh yeah, I've heard that. Oh god. We're almost out of here. Guys, ready? We should just do it. Smash the like button if you freaking like this video.
Okay.
5. What? Jesus Christ, just said stop since I pressed 5. We're on floor 10 right now. So if no one comes in, and I press 1, get out of here, I should be good. Just did the whole thing again. Sorry about this. The only other directions are do not look back, do not look in the elevator, just go all the way outside. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Holy crap, I seriously don't even know if that worked. So, like, everything what was supposed to happen basically happened besides the girl. I don't know if that girl was supposed to be a ghost or not. You're supposed to feel her or see her. I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical. In a lot of these games, you can actually see stuff. You know, like things get knocked over, you can feel presences and stuff like that. But in this, it was really creepy, and someone was behind me, and then I heard that door open. There was nothing there, so like there could have been like ghosts. I just don't know if I did it right or. nothing there, so like there could be like ghosts. I just don't know if I did it right or it worked 100% correctly. So with that being said, since this 3 a.m. challenge didn't 100% work, I think I messed up on this somehow, or it's just BS. I'm gonna do another 3 a.m. challenge if you guys get this to 50,000 likes again. Last time you got to about 8,000 in a week. So holy crap, thank you so much for that. I love you guys so much. Please get the merch. This is XBLR, but I'll get the North merch link in the description. And I am going to go get my stuff.
Okay, so if you just
Well, to begin with, it all started last month. I was leaving school alone. It was a normal day, nothing out of the ordinary. As I was leaving, I saw a man in his 50s. He was wearing a black jacket and a pair of ugly old glasses. He looked so gross. After a couple of minutes, I was finally home. I was listening to music the whole time, and I didn't realize that the man was following me. He was even holding a camera towards my bedroom window. I freaked out, but I still tried to sleep. As I was locking the door, I checked the window, and the man was still there holding his camera and smiling. I told my mom, so she called the police, but they didn't find anything. They even asked me to describe him to an artist so that they could have his face, but nothing. I wouldn't tell you this story if it didn't happen just last week. I was finishing a private guitar lesson at my teacher's house when something caught my eye. It was a picture of her and her husband. Then I realized that my stalker was her husband. I made up an excuse, apologized, and left the house. She was shocked when she saw me running. Soon after, I opened my bag and almost passed out. There was an envelope full of my pictures of me changing in my bedroom. I immediately called my mom, crying as I explained the situation. She called the police, and after a couple of minutes, they arrived. My mom did as well. They went into my teacher's house, asked her several questions about her husband, and asked about any strange activities. She stayed quiet. After searching the house, they found other pictures of multiple girls. After they caught him, they discovered that he had a bad history, which included rape and sexual assault. Now he is in prison, but I'm still afraid that someone like him will go a step further.
scared me. Home Alone.
I'm 30 years old, and this story took place when I was 13. My mother was a single mom, and she had to work 2 jobs. She worked at a grocery store in the morning and in a bar at night. So I was home alone a lot, but it was okay because I was used to it. I could cook myself dinner and walk back and forth to school. I was a kid for my age. One night, I was watching TV while eating ice cream, and someone knocked at the front door. I was wondering who it could be, as my friends never came out this late and my mom would always use her key to get in. I opened the door, and it was a man standing there with his hands in his pockets. I said, "Hello." He replied, "Hello, young lady. Are your parents home?" Stupidly, I said, "No. My mom isn't home right now. You have to come back tomorrow." He then said with a surprised smile on his face, "Oh, you're all alone, huh?" I said, "Yeah, I am." He replied with, "Okay, young lady. Have a nice night. Don't get in any trouble." He then walked away and I closed the door. He seemed friendly, but also weird at the same time. He was a little funny looking though. He was balding and had 70s style glasses on, with a mustache and bags under his eyes like he never slept. About 10 minutes passed, and there was another knock at the door. I got up to answer it. Before I opened the door, something told me to put the chain on. I don't know why, but my gut told me to do that. was strange because we really didn't use the chain. I'm glad I did because as soon as I opened the door, it was pushed open. But abruptly stopped by the chain. Before I could even say do anything, I looked through the crack of the door to see the same man again. He said in a startled voice, oh, hey there. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. As he stopped, it was like he knew he failed getting inside the house and tried to play off any suspicion by speaking quickly and making it seem like he didn't just obviously try coming into the house. I said, I'm fine, thanks. And I shut the door.
What's wrong with that?
Understand the situation or the dangers of what just happened. But still, I was a bit freaked out and wanted my mom to come home soon. An hour went by, and I was still thinking about what happened, so I started to watch a movie, trying to keep my mind occupied
Hey, that's
when I heard,
another.
let me in quick.
That's another what?
Thinking about what happened, so I started to watch a movie, trying to keep my mind occupied when I heard, let me in quick. I gotta tell you something.
What is it?
This was the scariest situation I've ever
What
been
is
in
it?
my life.
He said, hey, let me in quick. I need to tell you something.
The man once again was talking to the letterbox. I shouted, leave me alone. The letterbox was closed. Then the man started banging on the front door, screaming, let me in, you little shit, while slamming the front door handle up and down, trying to get in. I just stood back crying, praying he doesn't get in. He eventually gave up and left. My mom came home about 30 minutes later, just to find me crying, and I told her everything that happened. We told the police, but they never found this guy. I look back, and I think how grateful I am that I had the feeling to put the chain on the door. I hate to think what that man would have done if he had managed to get in.
The window.
I wonder why all these stores they don't have a curtain and they don't close the curtain. Bro, close her. My dead grandmother gave me a locket. Cool.
I have a true story from when I was younger. I was walking home from school one day. I was year 11 and saw something weird. I saw a face which seemed familiar to me, but I didn't know how. Later, I was sat in my room and I must have fallen asleep. I had a strange dream where my grandmother, who had passed away before my birth, came to visit me in my room. We had a very pleasant conversation in which she said that she wanted to give me something. I had no idea what this thing was, but I must have agreed to take it. I don't remember exactly what happened next, but I knew it was morning by the way that my mother was calling me to get up for school. I did my normal morning routine, and I put on my glasses, which was strange as I need them to see. Anyhow, I went downstairs to the bathroom and then went into the living room. My mom was in the kitchen making breakfast. I sat in the living room waiting for her to be ready, and as she came in with my tea and cereal, she took one look at me and told me everything. I thought it was because she had seen me without my glasses, but she wasn't really looking at my face. She was looking at my neck. Somehow during the night, a small gold locket had been placed around it. I was told that the locket had been lost before I was born, and that no one knew where it had gone or what it contained. I never even had seen this locket before, but my mom knew of it as she'd seen pictures of my grandmother wearing it. So, little by little, everything started to fall into place. The person I had seen, or at least thought I saw, must have been a glimpse of my gran. To this day, I still have the locket. I tried to return it to my mom, but she said the locket was given to her, and that it was given to me for safekeeping.
was it given to me, but I keep it with me always as a good luck charm.
Prom night.
This story just happened last
True
year.
prom night.
I work as a receptionist at a hotel. We school prompts here as we have a big hall on stage. In order to get to the hall, you have to pass the reception desk. It was prom night, and it was already underway. All students and teachers were in the dance hall. All the pictures had been taken,
Where?
and the reception area was empty. At some point during the evening,
Like,
someone approached the receptionist. I looked up to see a tall man standing there. He had a clean shaven face,
Huh?
and his hair was greasy detail. He was also wearing a suit that was pretty old. It was also dirty, along with some Adidas shoes. His eyes were
not
wide
that
open,
dirty.
and he said, "I'm here for the prom." At first, I thought he was kidding, but he looked dead serious. He accidentally said porn, and then he said prom. I said, "Are you employed by the school?" He said, "No, I'm a student here." I still kept thinking he was joking. He looked me in his late 40s, and he was telling me he was a high school student. So I asked him, "How old are you?" He said, "I'm 17. No, 16. Yeah, 16. At this point, I thought he was on drugs or something. I said, "I'm sorry, but you don't look 16 at all." He just stared at me, not saying a word, with his eyes wide, staring right at me. He then leaned over to me and said, "I'll make you a deal. I have a big blade in my pocket. If I'm not 16, you can cut my finger off. If I am 16, I can cut your finger off." I didn't get the chance to say anything because he walked out right after he said that. I told my boss about what happened. He said to let him know if he comes back and he'll deal with it. I finished my shift around 12, and then went to get in my car. There was an envelope under my windshield wiper. Written on it was, "A deal is a deal." I opened the envelope to see a human finger, and I had a feeling that this wasn't his own finger due to it being another color. I never saw that man again, and I always wondered why he was trying to get to that prom.
That was a boss thing. Boss had that ring. Oh my god, why weren't you watching? I'll show you.
Feeling that this know if he comes back.
See? Same ring.
I finished my shift
And then
around 12, and then went to get in my car. There was an envelope under my windshield wiper. Written on it was, "A deal is a deal." I opened the envelope to see a human finger, and I had a feeling that this wasn't his own finger due to it being another color.
Yeah, but how
I
did
never
you
saw
get
that
it
man
back?
again, and I always wondered why he was trying to get into that prom.
people.
What does that say?
One day I was showering. My sister came into the bathroom and said, "Don't open the curtains." She said that her friend was going to use the bathroom because she couldn't hold it any longer. I said, "Okay." I knew someone was there because I heard noises. Then I heard the door close. So I came out of the bathroom. I asked my sister which one of her friends came. She answered, "No one came over. What are you talking about?" I got chills and I started to freak out. About 2 months later, I was sleeping in my parents' room with my mom and dad because I was scared to sleep alone in my own room. I woke up in the middle of the night. I sat down on the bed and Then I saw something truly horrifying. I saw a lady in all white standing near the bedroom door, just watching me. I screamed and my parents woke up. They asked me what happened, and I pointed at the lady that scared me. They asked me what I was talking about because there was no one there. I pointed toward its direction and said that there's a lady right there. My dad got up to turn on the lights. He walked right through the lady. As soon as he turned on the lights, the lady disappeared. We moved about 3 months later.
How come the only
When we were unpacking, I saw a picture of a lady. She looked familiar. When I remembered where I saw her, I got chills. It was the lady I saw when I woke up in the middle of the night. I asked my dad who was the lady in the picture. He told me she was my grandma. He also told me she died when he was 23 years old. My dad was now at the age of 41 when he told me. I got really scared after that. Now when I wake up in the middle of the night, I try my best to go straight back to sleep.
My grandmother tried to. Why?
It was April of 2007, and my birthday was approaching.
2007, I was born.
Most of my family had already told me the gifts I would receive, like a new Wii along with video games for it. My grandmother didn't tell me anything. Now, my grandmother had always been a strange woman. She wasn't very talkative, but I liked to hear the stories she told. They were creepy, but intriguing. She told me she was going to give me a book. She didn't show it to me, nor did she tell me what it was about. Once my birthday rolled around, I was opening gifts from my loved ones. When I got to my grandmother's present, I opened it up and I saw a book with a pentagram carved into its front cover. I picked it up and thought nothing of it, because at the time, I didn't know what the shape was or what it meant. As soon as I grabbed it, though, everything went pitch black. When I woke up, my family was surrounding me, and my mom was scolding my grandmother about giving me the book. My grandmother looked at me, but her eyes were evil-looking. That night, when I went to bed, I was having a pretty good dream. But suddenly, something woke me up. I looked around and saw nothing. Then, suddenly, I saw a shadowy figure in the doorway looking at me. This wasn't a case of sleep paralysis because I was able to move, but that didn't comfort me because that meant it was real life. The figure crept closer and closer to me. When I looked closer at the figure, I saw gray hair and crooked teeth. That's when I knew it was my grandmother.
Scream.
I screamed and ran past her, but she grabbed me and tossed me back. I noticed she had something in her hand, but I couldn't tell what it was. I saw one of my toys that I had got a few years ago, picked it up and threw it at her. She fell to the ground and I ran past her telling my parents. My parents called the police and they got there and arrested her. The thing she had in her hand was a knife. And she was planning on killing me.
Why?
To this day, I wonder what would have happened if that toy wasn't lying there.
She would have killed you.
That toy wasn't lying there.
Creepy man tried to kill.
Yeah. This happened to me when I was a young girl, maybe 7 or 8. It was a Saturday afternoon and my mother and I were at a mall shopping. We went from store to store. Mostly for me. I was a spoiled kid. We went to a coat store. And I was pretty bored, so I would constantly walk away from my mother to play and stuff as I did in every other store. My mother would always call my name and I'd go running to her. This time, I was playing in the round gold brick. My mother called my name and I ran out. I ran right to the overhead. He grabbed me by my wrist and asked me why I was running. I told him because I have to get to my mom. He then told me to take me to her. I said said no, and he let go. It was weird because I saw this man in almost every store he went to, but he never had any bags. After that store, I had to use the bathroom really bad, so I went while my mother went to the food. I sat down and used it for maybe a minute when someone else came in. The person walked right up to my stall. At this point, I was just looking at the person's shoes. They were men's shoes. I was confused of why a man would be in here. Before I could look up, the man said, "Hey, Yaya, everything okay in there? I'll come in if you want me to." It was the man from the stores, and I could see his eyes peeking through the crack of the door. He then started shaking the stall. I began to scream. I've never been so afraid in my life. Then two women walked into the bathroom and the man took off. These women took me to my mother and told the police. They found him due to the cameras. I don't know what his intentions were, but the police said he probably would have kidnapped me. Who knows? From that time on, I would never leave my parents' side while in public.
I'm not scared, darling. Oh my God. The man in my brother's closet.
This happened 2 months ago in January of 2019. My parents went out to a party. They told me they wouldn't be back until at least 3 a.m. in the morning because the party was supposed to start at 8 p.m. and the party was going to be in New Jersey. We live in Connecticut, so it takes a while to get there and back. They told me to watch my 10-year-old brother and expected me to be responsible because I'm 15 years old. When they left, we watched movies all night while eating a bunch of popcorn. It was around 11:30, and we just finished watching Infinity War. I told my brother to brush his teeth and go to bed. I stayed up later than him to watch the movie Logan. The movie ended, and it was around 2 in the morning. I was getting ready for bed when my brother came down the stairs. I asked him what he was still doing up, and he said the boogeyman was in his closet and wanted to touch him. I looked at him in confusion. My brother isn't the type of kid to pull pranks or joke around. He wanted me to check it out. I said fine and started saying he probably just heard a house noise. He said he heard a noise coming from his closet, and when checked inside, the boogeyman was there and said he wanted to touch him. We went inside his room. I turned on the light and we went to the closet door. I opened it, and what I saw made me seriously angry. There was a tall, scruffy-looking man with long, black, greasy hair. He looked as if he was in his mid-40s and was fairly built. I was pissed off when I saw this creep watching my 10-year-old brother sleep, and I figured out what my brother meant when he said the boogeyman wanted to touch him. I was so pissed off. I punched his throat. He dropped to the floor gasping for air, but I stepped on his face as hard as I could at least 6 times.
Jeez.
He was covered in blood and was having trouble breathing. I grabbed my brother and ran to the bathroom, locking the door and calling the cops. Then called my parents. My parents freaked out. In about 10 minutes, the cops showed up and searched the bedroom. He wasn't in there. They searched the house. He wasn't anywhere to be found. I gave them a good description of his appearance, and an officer even stayed at our house until sunrise. A week later, I was informed that the same guy was caught and arrested for raping an 11-year-old boy and murdering his parents. It turns out he had raped multiple children before, and even murdered some of them and their parents. He was 47 years old and received a death sentence. If my brother never came downstairs to tell me what happened, then I fear the worst could have happened to him. And I'm extremely thankful that didn't happen.
It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water.
It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water. Made. Oh my God. Kill me.
around 2 a.m., everyone was sleeping. Suddenly, my brother and I heard my maid weeping.
Stop.
She was crying softly. She was Mr. Family in Indonesia, so we just ignored her and went back to sleep. The next day, at the same time around 2 a.m., she was weeping again. This went on and on for 3 months. We told our parents about it, and everyone had the same thought. She probably missed her family back home. One night at 9 p.m., my brothers and I were chilling in the living room. My maid was in the kitchen washing dishes. My dad was fixing the kitchen light, and suddenly my dad saw a shadow running around in the storage room. My dad thought it was one of us playing around, so my dad called out to my brother, "Can you please get the light bulb from the drawer?" But no one answered. Then my dad shouted, "Hey, can someone help me out and get the light bulb for me?" Both of us ran towards my dad from the living room, which is on the opposite side of the storage room. My dad then got confused and asked us why we came from the living room.
That's you.
We got goosebumps and walked into the storage room. We switched the lights on and saw that there was no one there. However, we saw the maid shaking. She looked at us, then started weeping again. My dad asked, "Who was that, and why are you weeping?" My maid then explained that it was her guardian from Indonesia. My dad asked her to call him out, and he was going to call the police. But my maid stated that it was not a human, but a spirit that was summoned to protect her. After that, my dad brought us to a nearby hotel for the night and hired a spiritual hunter to chase the spirit away. Following that incident, we no longer heard the maid weeping, and she was sent back to Indonesia 3 days after the incident.
I was haunted by my baby.
When I was around 5 or 6 years old, I experienced something that I can't really explain. I just came home from school one day and I decided I would play with my toy cars. When I opened the door to my room, I saw that all my cars were disorganized. I freaked out. I have OCD, and so that's why I freaked out. I then accused my mom of messing with my toys, but she swore she never touched them. I let it go. That night I was asleep, and my dad was still up. He saw a kid go in the bathroom, and he thought it was me. He yelled, "Go back to bed." My mom thought he was crazy, especially since I was fully asleep. When my parents went to my room to check on me, I was knocked out on my bed. My dad went to sleep, and my mom did too. The next day, however, my mom had a creepy experience. She was walking down the hall with my laundry, and she was knocked over by someone. The crazy part is, I was in school, and my dad was at work. She was supposed to be alone in the house. She picked up the laundry that fell and placed it on my bed. After she left my room, however, she saw a picture lying on the floor. She picked it up and then fainted. I came home and saw her passed out on the floor. I got scared because I thought my mom was dead. She woke up only to start crying. She told me that she saw my baby cousin. I said, "So what?" But then she said, "Son, your cousin is dead." Turns out he was killed in an accident before I was born. Nothing else has happened since that day, but I'm convinced that those experiences won't be the last. This happened when I was much younger. My brother was on the soccer team. Let's call him Sean. My family went to a soccer match, which was at a local park. This park included a huge soccer field and a playground area. I was getting bored of watching the game and went over to the playground, where I spotted this kid who had a Spider-Man web shooter on his wrist. Being a big fan of Spider-Man, I walked up to him. I asked him if it was the silly string shooting toy, and he nodded. Then he said, "I have another one in my family's car. I'll show you." So he led me over to his van that was parked in the parking lot nearby. He began to crawl in. His father was in the front seat. He gave me a weird, creepy grin, but I still started to climb into the van. nowhere, I heard my father shout my name. I was pushed out by the kid and he slammed the van door shut. The van sped off and my dad ran towards me and hugged me. After that, my family and my brother left the game. If my father didn't notice I had left the playground or was a minute late, I don't know where I'd be right now. I just want to tell any parent who is either reading or listening to this, please, drill don't follow strangers into your kid's head.
I'm not sure you are.
My scary apartment.
When I was 4 years old, my family and I used to live in a huge apartment. Along with the apartment complex was a huge basement where we could do our laundry. However, in order to get there, we had to take the elevator. One day, my mom was doing the laundry. My brothers and I accompanied her. My two brothers were playing together. Meanwhile, I was wandering off to the dark basement's hallway.
Look,
As I walked in further, I saw a bloody footprints with the same size as my feet. I followed the footsteps, and they suddenly stopped at the end of the hallway. I looked up, and I saw two kids. A boy with brown hair and brown eyes, and a girl with blonde hair and brown eyes. They were both my age. There was something odd about them, but like any other 5-year-old, I just ignored it. I turned my head around to see if there was anyone else in the hallway, but there wasn't. And I turned my head around to look at the kids again. They vanished. I was confused. I mean, how could that be possible? There was only a wall in front of me. A few days later, I was getting into the elevator. As soon as I entered, I saw the kids again. I asked them where their mom and dad were, but they didn't respond. I turned around and I pressed the button to go to the 3rd floor. And as I turned back to them, again, they were gone. I was shocked. So I told the janitor about what happened. Apparently, there was a horrible situation some time ago. A family used to live here, and the parents killed their own children. Now their ghosts hunt the whole...
Wait.
I'm shocked.
Wait.
So I told the janitor about what happened. Apparently, there was a horrible situation some time ago. A family used to live here, and the parents killed their own children. Now their ghosts hunt the whole complex in search for their bodies. Several years have passed and we moved out. But I still wonder if they ever ended up finding their bodies.
Wait, so there are ghosts? But like, how come?
Over.
How come only he could see them? The other people.
Well, maybe other people might.
But so
Bye, thank you for watching.